Hey there, it's Chris, and welcome back to what will hopefully be the final session of the building phase of the Bang Shishigami project, where this is actually a bit of a take two, because I recorded this just the other day, and quite frankly, we wound up with the front piece, which looks absolutely terrible on him. I put it on, and we have that going. That is not him at all. I figure if you're in any way, shape, or form familiar with, say, of Final Fantasy VII, you probably know the hairstyle of, say, Eris. I guess it's Aerith now, but if you go to the original version, because the original version, when everything is super pixelated, you get the more clear artwork. They've kind of toned things down to make it realistic now. Either that, or it's kind of a little bit of a Sephiroth look going on. It's not a Bang look. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and try this one more time. See if we can make this actually look right. So, the way we went about making this in the first place is if we go and pull up this image here, because it shows it the best, and you go pointing off to the side, you can see he has kind of that mutton chop piece kind of coming down along his chin. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, well, ideally we've been using the 12 gauge and the 16 gauge to kind of structure everything in here to make things kind of solid, to make it kind of keep things from going on. And again, if we have a piece like this, we're going to be putting on, taking off, putting on, taking off. We want to have something a solid base in here to go off of. But these 12 and 16 gauge wires are a little bit thick. And given how thin the piece is down on the bottom, I don't want that to break, or I don't want it to stick out too much on those. So we're going to scale that down even further. And if you're familiar with your nice little twist ties, they're great. For these, all I did was go, if you take the little kind of plasticky kind of coating off of it, there's actually a little wire inside there. Surprise, surprise, what makes it work. So what I did was I just took 3 of those wires, I stripped down 3 of them, twisted them around to kind of braided the whole thing together, kind of off camera here, because you don't need to watch me twisting this thing around and making it work. And with 3 of those, that's not going to give me enough flexibility to get it around. It's going to have, it's thin, so it's not going to be protruding out and making the hair doing that, but also gives the tensile strength that the ceramic piece here, the clay, isn't going to have on its own. So we're going to use that as our core for this part of the project, and pretty much the entire thing is going to be done with this image going on here, because that is the best one we are going off of. And I'm going to go clear out this workspace a little bit. I don't need all of this stuff up here. Actually, I don't need very much up here, to be honest. So, okay, first thing I want to do is I want to get you off, and actually, if I can get clay piece down over here, I'm going to move Bang's body out of the way for now. I really do need to drill some new holes in this thing, because all of them have kind of been going in. I'm taking things in and out. They're all getting kind of loose at this point, but as long as we can find one of them that works for the time being, just for one section, or one more session, we'll be fine. That's not going to be good. Okay. We can use that. We can work with this. Although I'm going to be taking it on and off as we go. But, okay, first thing I want to do is I want to get 2 good clean ends. I know one of the twist ties was longer than the other 2, so we're just going to zip that off just in case. I'm not sure which side. I don't know which one was which, so no reason to fiddle around with it. Let's just get it right from the start. And all I'm going to do is take this nice kind of, we still have this nice little kind of flat section on top of his head in the front, so I can just kind of lay you right on that. At least all the hair here is hardened, so I can push down on it. I don't need to go down so far, because I'm not on camera at all for any of this. And let's see if we can actually cut this the right size, approximately. Yeah, part of the problem with doing things kind of live on camera, say the last section or session that resulted in that, well, result, is when you're kind of doing things live, you don't like kind of staring at stuff and re-staring at stuff and re-staring at stuff and kind of going back and forth, going, you always kind of want to you always want to be doing forward progress. And every now and again, it just, little mistake here, little mistake there, eventually they kind of compound against each other. You go and do a final hardening, you're like, I know it's not quite there, but I don't want to start over. I can't start over again at this point. We're doing so much live. It's been so good up until now. Then eventually you kind of sit back and go, it's just not working. And by that point, it's already too late. Whatever's happened has already happened. But you're like, well, oh well. Okay, so now I just need to kind of curl it in a little bit. We have enough kind of curl going forward, just kind of to get it so it's going to be easier kind of forming this before the clay is on it than probably after. And we're close. We're close. We're close. I just need you to come in just a little bit. And as with the last session that you didn't see, I'm just going to do this until it's done. So if this winds up being short, now that I've actually kind of done it once, it may wind up being slightly shorter than I think. Then it's going to be slightly shorter. If this winds up being long again, like the last time that you didn't see was, then it's just going to wind up being long. We're gonna stay here until this project is done, because it would be really awkward to have to finish the final session or section. I'm always going to get the word section and session messed up every single time. I've said it before, and it will continue to be a thing. But I will. Yeah, no, I'm not going to finish this off camera. When we come back the next time, it's going to be priming time. And that said, I believe this is going live on Saturday. If everything goes according to plan, then on Friday I will have had my special Palmerton pre-race kind of goings on. And I'm probably going to do I'm going to probably start priming and the painting phase on Monday. So yes, this is going on Saturday. Sunday is probably going to be like a post-race kind of review. Did everything come out the way I expected it to? Did the plans work? Did plans not work? Did the weather hold out? I'm going to probably do, a whole kind of post-race kind of walkthrough. It'll probably be, again, it's not going to be an hour long. It's going to be a quicker thing, kind of like the last one was. And yeah, this is still being recorded before the race, so it hasn't happened yet. The map and stuff has posted at this point, but the race has not yet happened. So yeah, kind of awkward topic. It would have been nice to have finished this entire thing before the race stuff, but kind of sandwiching it in between the pre and post one is also not so bad a thing. It actually might be, depending what time of day you're actually viewing this, you could be viewing it while I'm racing. Although you'd have to wake up pretty early for that, in fairness. Because I should be done by like 9:30 in the morning. It's gonna be hot as heck. It looks like it's gonna be, cloud cover, yay, that's great. But it's still July, and it's still gonna be hot as heck. But in any event, you're going to have enough race discussion between yesterday's and tomorrow's. So for now, let's just focus on getting some glue on here. I'm going to try to get less glue on my fingers this time than I did last time, because that was not great. And then once this thing is all glued up and on, then we can actually start the real thing. And see if we can turn him a little more into Bang than a kind of grunge guy. Okay, what do we have to start with? Oh, look at that. He's adorable. So you need to go over top of the head. That's going to come down. I want you to bend in. It's not bending in. So you go in a little, you go in a little. We do want this to be somewhat tight against the face. Okay, that's not terrible. So that kind of works. Unfortunately, on this image, you really can't see the part that's on there. It's kind of hidden behind the front kind of bigger area, but it's there. Okay, so the main thing I took away from the last time's result is essentially just don't overdo the hair. I'll just kind of add a little bit, then go like, all right, it needs a little more here. Oh, I did a little too much there, so I do a little too much on this next part. And it kind of kept going one of those back and forth until it just wound up being way too much hair. So we need to resist the urge to keep adding and adding and adding till we get too much mass in here. I got to bring the front down. The back can kind of stay. I got to bring the front down. Kind of, yeah, there are a bunch of things I got to change on this. Several things worked out well. A bunch of other things did not. So at work, when stuff like that happens, and it does every now and then, you get a piece wrong. Something doesn't measure right, or you realize what you thought was a square wall or something you're kind of measuring up against winds up not actually being square. And so you then use your first one as a template to help give you an idea for the preceding pieces so you can get them at least right. And that's kind of what I have here. I have an idea of what I did wrong last time. So we're going to see if we can not do that again this time. Okay. I'm just going to add a little bit on this now because I'm really not going to have a chance to do this later once I get the bangs up front kind of put in. So this isn't super necessary either because you can't really see that part, which I've learned in the end. You got here, which wasn't too bad. I mean, that was this piece down here and that piece there, which once you get these other guys on there, not really visible. Okay, so with that, now I have two things I need to do. I need to fill in this backspace. Okay? Yeah, I need to fill in this backspace between the hair I have and the new band. And I need to give the line down here and make this actually correct, unlike last time, which I didn't. So, shouldn't be too bad. And now I can kind of push down. Thankfully, I can push down on the head as we go. Now, as we go on, I will be putting the head on and off the actual figure because I need to make sure it works with the scarf, need to make sure it works with the nail, need to make sure it works with other things. So I will be adding on and off to that, but I'm going to do it as I get more pieces on here and it becomes more relevant to do that. I'm going to do it. So there's no need to do it yet. Nothing's happened yet. All I'm doing right now is just filling in voids because we can't have a void between the back hair and the front. That will be noticeable. He doesn't have a hat, he doesn't have a headband, he doesn't have anything to kind of hide the seam between the front and back portions. So and now if I push in too much, you'd think it's going to stick to the head. But over time, I'm going to keep kind of taking things on and off. And once you start taking it on and off several times, it starts to kind of become its own thing. So once again, not super concerned with that sticking on. Yes, it does want to right now. Oop. Okay, so there we go. It does come off. Perfect. Okay, now, unfortunately, I just took out one of his little back hairs. Well, for now it's fine. Okay, so what I did last time was the ridge line on the hair is just a complete semicircle. It doesn't work out that way. As you can see, it does point down in the middle just a little bit. So it's not a circle per se, but it does need to come down a little. Little kind of M thing going on here. So let's see if just, like I said, it's going to take a couple small changes, but these couple small changes will hopefully make all the difference. Now, being as this part is in the middle of his head here, it's not off to a side, we're going to have kind of the point of this is going to be towards the middle and not off to a side. Now, I don't need to overly do it. I just need to have at least a little something coming down straight. So you can see it's not a huge V going on, but it is a little bit. Okay. Now we get into the stuff. Now we start adding actual hair. Is it the stuff you're probably thinking of right now? Odds are no. Get the stuff behind the ears first, because the ones in front are going to, actually, do I even, yeah, they're going to kind of cover up and go. Actually, do we even need to go behind the ears on this? Yeah, it kind of goes up and in. Okay, and I said something right before about not making things too thick. Let's already not make things too thick. Let's see, we don't need to go all the way back like that. Oh, when my voice drops like that, you know I'm thinking. You also know that's probably not good. When I start thinking like that, you know it's not going to be good. You know it's like, uh-oh, he's about to change something. Alright, so we want this to attach to his headband portion, not necessarily the rest of the hair, although having something in the back will help counterbalance the front, because this is going to want to fall off the front of his head pretty much all the time. So, once again, I've put some things on, so I'm going to take this back off again, just so I know that I can take things on and off. And I want to get this kind of primed and used to coming on and off. So again, the more I do that, the more freely it's going to be able to do that over time. All right, now if you remember on the back, as I was doing each strand, I was putting all the striations on. I'm actually going to hold off this time and do the striations at the end, because once I get a bunch of things on here, effectively what I'm going to be doing then is re-smoothing out, kind of sculpting the whole thing. And then after the entire thing is sculpted, we should be good. Okay, here we go. Can we do this with less fail this time? That would be amazing. Let's see how. Now we do want to come down to a point. You are kind of starting wider. Okay. I'm already kind of liking this better than I had before. I haven't done much yet. So this is good. Apologies if I'm not going to be talking quite as much this time. It's just, there's a lot of concentrating on this because I think I said it in the last session, but hair is one of those things I just never really feel like I have a super great grasp on. I never feel like I go into this section with a game plan, and it just kind of seems to work most times. And I'm still kind of feeling like that right now. I don't even though I've done it the once, and it didn't really work very well on that one. I still don't feel like I have a huge grasp on every nuance of this. And so there is some concentrating going on here. Too much. Okay, this is feeling better so far than it did last time, so I will give it that. Okay, I want to kind of smush those together a little bit, because those two do kind of come in together. That was not the hole I was in before. That probably isn't either, but maybe we go and kind of center the camera a little bit more too. Maybe you guys want to see something. Okay, so the goal is, yeah, don't go too much on this. It's just get what needs to be done and then move on to a different section. I will never get those words correct. But, all right, once again, we don't need really any of that. And I would think if he has a little bit of a shaggy kind of look, I can get another smaller hair kind of tuft that comes in. Again, don't want to overdo it, but I do want to have at least something maybe coming down. Just kind of on the inside. I can have it kind of flop out like that. He's getting, if nothing else, more of a pretty boy look than he did before, which is kind of the antithesis of how he's generally portrayed. But we'll see how this winds up as this whole section goes on. But okay, we do want that to kind of come out a little bit. You can go in that way. I want this back one to actually come out behind the front one. I'm starting to think that even if this one isn't correct, it's looking a lot better. And I may wind up keeping it anyway. And really, even if none of these work, I can take this into the painting phase, and because it is its own section, which is going to be done, I can always do this and redo this over until I get something I like. Even after the entire model is painted, I can take this part off and redo it again. Will I? Probably not. But do I have the option to? Yes, absolutely. But yeah, let's be honest. That's not likely going to happen. But the option's there. Okay, that's not bad. I just kind of want a little more of a point going down here. Once again, kind of a theme. Okay, so what do I have going on that I need to change? First off, I want to keep this kind of V going on. So I'm carving back a little more back here so I can have a little bit of this forehead still going. The forehead goes up while the hair at least comes down farther forward there. Okay, there we go. I want to give a little more of that kind of void in the back so it doesn't feel like a wall of hair right there. Figured I might as well get this side kind of done a little more right before I start making any kind of bigger changes on the other side. Because now you can see the other side is just super flat. This now has a little more depth to it. The hair is a little shorter. It's not blocking his eyes like the other one was. The whole hair is set back a little further, which is good. And actually, we're not doing terrible on time. This will probably be about an hour or so to actually do this whole thing. Well, you're going to know when you see the timestamp. But I do want to harden this and all that on camera too. Like I said, it's the final one. We got to show everything on this. And there's always bonus stuff when I do hardenings on camera. So be prepared. There's bonus stuff coming when I do the hardening on camera. Shocker. You can pretend to be surprised. All right, let's get our point. Get you in there. Okay. Alright, so let's not pull the leg out from the base. Alright, now that we kind of got the camera where I want it to be, let's go mess up my entire structure here. I can see we're really not in the way of the scarf, which is good. Our hair is coming out too wide. We want you guys to come out, I think, a little more forward rather than wide. I want this opening to feel skinnier rather than a circle. I don't think this circle view feels right. If we go too far to the side, this looks like a circle kind of by his... What I don't want is this to feel like a circular opening. I think he wants to be more kind of angular opening going on. So which means, if anything, we want to come a little further forward on that and have the hair kind of coming a little more in front of his eye than the other way around. And I think at the same time I want this coming out a little more like that. Which again, with the lighting I have, direct lighting over top, really doesn't help this. When we paint it and like the eyes become white and the skin tone is lighter and everything, it will pop. But yeah, there's that. But no, I am liking this one more than the first time. Is it going to be perfect? I'm not so sure. But is it better than what I've had? I think I'm going to say, yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's give you a little bit more oomph over here, because you're going to come down. Yeah, as long as that part remains, I can stick maybe, it looks like it has another hair or two, a kind of strand that comes out a little more that direction. At the same time, oh, right. The camera. I said, I just got the camera to kind of where I want it to be. And what do? Forget about it. Awesome. Okay, so we want a smaller strand. Kind of like on the other side, I can put a smaller strand, kind of tuck it in here. Maybe before I attach that one. I can smush one more of these guys in here, attach it like so. It can go out a little bit. Now we get you on top. It goes, we can smush this down. And probably one more towards the back, so we kind of mirror the other side. And probably shouldn't take much more than that, really. Yeah, we just have kind of a smaller piece coming down. We want the emphasis to be on the front ones, not so much on these backs. So these can be a little smaller just to kind of finish off, and then be a transition from this main section to the back section there. Okay, I know I'm smushing all these together. I will separate them back again. That's going to be part and parcel of this. Again, I didn't do enough of that up here. I just kind of stopped at the middle, and they should go all the way, kind of a little more like this one is. Okay, so I got the back of the hair, or kind of the underside of this half done nicely. I got to do kind of the same on this, and that was hollowing out a little bit of this so it doesn't feel quite as huge. And we can see the hairline there recede back a little bit. All right, what do we have? He looks less villainous now, so I'll give it that. He does look less villainous, so with this, we haven't added the striations, but at least with this, we'll get a pretty good idea of what we have here. And what we have is a lighting disaster. There way I can tilt you down a little bit. Yeah. That's not so bad. That is much better than it was. I'm not 100% convinced it's bang, but we are kind of in there. I think I'm a little more okay with this than I was before, and I think we're just going to go with it. So we have a decent chunk of fixing up and whatnot to do. And wow, we still have, it's only like 40 minutes in. Okay. Alright, well this is still going to take some time, because now I have the entire head. I need to striate here. And actually, before I do that, let's see, what we're going to want to do is first off bring the camera back down, because I'm going to be working primarily down here. And we want a head that's our hairpiece that is removable. Okay, we have a hairpiece that's removable. How do these two actually compare? This is a lot longer. This one has a little more structure to it. This one, yeah, it doesn't jut up quite or nearly as much as, say, like the Sephiroth cut, as we can call it. Still does go up a decent way, so I can kind of bring you down just a little. So we don't need it to go up quite as high as it was. Let's see, I lost a strand. Or rather, you got attached to the other one on the underside. We don't need you down there. You can stick up. Okay, now here we go. So we're going to do a lot of these minor kind of striations first. Start with that, and then I'm going to build into the big. Now again, I'm sure there are better ways to make these striations look more realistic or whatnot. It's kind of worked for me. I've generally been pleased with the results I've had doing it this way, so I just kind of go with that at this point. But yeah, what I do want to have though is you can read a part all the way to the center here, because I didn't do that on the first attempt. Didn't do that at all on the first attempt, and that got me good. Okay, every little strand of hair in the back has now fallen off. Not that anybody can ever see those strands of hair. It was just kind of like a thought process from before. And I might just keep them off. They go up against the nail. They're actually rubbing up. I'm pointing on the model. They're rubbing up against the scarf on the model. They actually are becoming, they are a bit of a hassle. If I ever try to move this thing or display it or whatnot, or bring it to anywhere, transport it for whatever reason, they're going to snap off. Might not stop me from trying to glue it. Well, actually, I can keep them off. I can keep them off back on because I'm not hardening this portion. I'm only hardening the front part. So I can put them on maybe after, before I get to the painting phase. I can kind of fix things up or try to find a way to make it work for that. Okay, yeah, just seeing this go kind of all the way down to the part just feels so much better than last time. Once again, I wish I had more stuff to talk about, but for right now, it's really not much. I am really liking these these strands I kind of have going further back. They do counterbalance this. This will help. This will definitely help structure things once it gets through the hardening phase. It'll help structure. It'll help kind of counterbalance the front as the front kind of comes off the edge there. So that much I think is a good thing. And again, whenever I'm doing this, I'm not just doing straight parallel lines to each other. I'm kind of doing little zigzags and taking things out. His hair is not the neatest thing in the world, so we can emphasize the fact that yeah, it's a little unkempt. And I just realized if I am hardening this stuff on camera, I forgot to bring out I have some other things I'm supposed to bring out to help with that, like my mineral spirits and whatnot. So when we get to that part, I'm going to need to duck away for just a sec. It's not far. It's behind the screen behind me. Everything I need is close. It's just not neatly organized. Which is exactly the way I feel like everything in my life is. It's just things are the way they are, and that's just it. I will probably. I haven't been an organized person up to this point, and frankly, if it hasn't happened yet, I'm not sure it's ever going to. I'm not a complete disaster, but I'm not exactly an epitome of organization. My work environments are a disaster. I will clean things like even if I'm working on the job at the end of any given day, we clean things up, we make things look good. But the process itself is not necessarily the neatest. All of a sudden, before you know it, you have tools everywhere. It's like, how did I use like 15 tools to do this? To like put on new hinges and doorknobs on this door. How did I need all of that stuff? I needed an oscillating saw, I needed a circular saw, I needed the hole cutting drill, needed a router to kind of rat out the stuff, needed a regular drill, needed all my hand tools, my chisels. Like, how did I need all of this stuff just to do like this, a doorknob and some hinges? It doesn't make sense. Every tool I own is now right in front of me. are still not really right. But I'm in that range of I'm not sure what's not right. I don't like that place. I don't like that place, and I like that place even less when I'm on camera. Cause like I said before, you get in that place, you're like, I gotta do something. I can't just sit here and stare at it. We gotta make this work. Once again, we tilt you up. Gotta get you in. Something's not right, and I don't know what isn't. Still coming very far forward. It might be we're coming just too far forward, and I need to bring everything kind of just... Hey, I'm stuck. If I bring everything back, we go back just a little bit, we see too much forehead. That's a problem. That's not nearly as bad. Let's see if we if I put you back here, you come in. You know what, let's actually do the up close one, because I can just as easily Alright, so lighting is part of the problem. Because again, we have huge shadows. The face is going to be painted lighter, the eyes are going to be white, the scar is even going to be lighter still, and the hair is going to be dark. So this will pop a little more. So it's kind of hard going straight off of the shadows, because the shadows definitely are not matching the image that's there. This front one feels like it wants to have a little more oomph to it. All right. Let's see if any... Nope, lighting gets worse if we do... How's that lighting? Do I have too much forehead showing? Not enough forehead showing? Actually, that came down a little bit, but that feels better on the forehead. All right, so again, we have that versus this. I am going with this one a little more. Okay. So I'm gonna do just a little more touching up where I had kind of manhandled this thing before. And we're going to get this guy oven ready. So let's see, I had a piece for oven ready. Right there. So you know what? Actually, stared him for 1 second. I'm going to go get my hardening stuff. Oh, why did I put it way back there? Okay. I'm back. That didn't take long. Didn't have it on me, but I didn't bring it too far away either. So we're going to bring you, and we're going to put you on this. So let's see, let's get some of this stuff. I guess when you get some of this stuff out of the way, I have, oh, that's the old hair. Don't need the old hair anymore, that's done. All right, time to kind of smooth out. Again, all the lines and folds and all that we made, they're gonna stay. But a lot of times when I was kind of carving things and whatnot, what happened is you get kind of the edges of all the cuts may stick up just a hair where they kind of shouldn't. And this is going to help bring all of those down and a little more into focus. And our hope is once this comes out of the oven, we need to stick this on Bang himself so that it can, in case something is off, it can mold around his head a little more correctly than it already is. Okay, let's see, let's get our next phase of stuff over here and ready, including a watch. I have gloves, I have my weights that I stick under things. I'm just doing it once more. Yeah, it will. It will, it will, it will. It will work, it will work, it will work. Okay. So, once again, my usual is I will have the front of this facing forward, back facing away. Ooh, ow. Once again, I have too much junk all over the place. Are we plugged in? That would be mighty good to know. Yes, we are. All right, so I have 42:30 on my watch. So it's going to be 43, so it's 8:47. This will be done. And all right, pay no attention to anything going on around here because there are no shenanigans happening out behind the work. Everything is fine, and there's nothing to see here. So just sit tight. I'm going to put some things in order, and as I said before, we have my usual kind of stuff happening during one of these hardenings. And if you remember way back in the first session, I mentioned I chose Bang as a member of, if you've ever seen I Want to Be the Guy, and he has, you get to the end of the game, you get to the Hall of the Guy, and the makers of the game for this was like any like the most kind of characters who exhibit like the most kind of manly, masculine, testosterone based whatever kind of characters. So if you're thinking of, you're probably thinking of somebody like Mike Hagar from Final Fight, or Doom Guy from Doom, or say Solid Snake or something like that. Well, I think in this case, here is right now my Hall of the Guy. And I think Bang fits in there pretty well. So from left to right, if you don't know the characters, we have Auron from Final Fantasy X. We have Ryu Hayabusa from the Ninja Gaiden series. We have the original Legend of Zelda Link. If you've ever played the original game, if you've never played the original game before, I highly recommend it. It's great. You'll understand why this version of Link deserves its place in the hall. And then, of course, we have Bag. And I think he fits in here pretty well. Quality-wise, I think everything is kind of worked out. I think overall he fits. This is a fun project. I had a good time with it. It lasted, I think, a little longer than I'm kind of used to. Yes, the 32, 33 hours, whatever. If you count like little kind of odds and ends here and there, it's probably close to 34 to 35. But at the same time, I usually don't count hardening. I did a lot of description sessions. Let's just say 32, 33s. It's the average for all these guys. I think Auron was like 36. Ryu was probably around 30 or so. Link, I think, was probably a little under 30. So he fits right in there time-wise. But this was stretched out over weeks and weeks and weeks of time. Again, this is 5 sessions per month, so what's this now, 6 weeks? Usually it's done in like 3. So in that sense, yes, it has gone on longer than it typically goes on. But in the end, it was still fun. I had a good time with him. And I think this is great. Are there things I would touch, if I had more time, that I would touch up on? I think there are, because things like the scarf I would probably put more time into and whatnot. Is just when you try to do something episodic like I am on this, part of the problem is you always kind of want something to end like at that hour mark or however long you're doing recording for. If you're doing recording for a half hour, you want things to end on a half hour. If you do things for an hour, you want to end on an hour. If you do things for like 2 hours, you want to kind of something end on like 2 hours. So it feels really awkward if you're going to have something end at, say, a 15-minute mark or 20-minute mark or like a 40-minute mark. Those things kind of feel a little awkward. And so I know the scarf I can put more work into, but at the same time, it's just going to have things finished at an awkward time, and at some point you have to say just kind of go, just like make progress. And again, with the hair situation, you always want to have forward progress, so it feels really awkward, so you have to stop, reevaluate, and do whatnot. And we are at time. So we're going to open you, not use that hand. Turn you around, go ow, because it's really hot. And I don't know why I hit 4 minutes on that. All right, 8:47:15. So around 8:49:15 to 30, somewhere in there, it'll be done. But again, back to these guys. Yes, doing things off camera versus on camera in terms of structuring an entire project, there are differences. I will put probably more time into some sessions. I may not put as much time in the others. I'm definitely putting a lot more care into the thought behind a lot of the individual elements that I do, or at least so I can verbalize them to you. I hope I've been able to verbalize the processes I've used throughout the entire process, so if you want to make your own, you have, even if I don't get something right, you can still use that as an example for yourself to make your own off of. It gives you a starting point to get an idea of what to go off of or how to do something. Again, you can watch other YouTube videos, certain elements I've done that may have taken an hour or 2 hours to do. Other people will do it just like that. They'll do it like 15 minutes, just like bim, bam, boom, done. And it's just, there are people who can do that. But part of this is showing, for any of my family who's seen these before, I've gone, oh yeah, this model's taken 30 hours. It's taken 35 hours to do. Well, now you know what 30-hour projects look like to do. This is exactly in the ballpark that you're used to me saying these things are. So there's nothing awkward about that. That is 100% what I've been telling you things are. But to anybody else, yes. And also you can imagine for the people who do, like, say, 50-hour projects, 100-hour projects, 200-hour projects. Think of a 200-hour project. That is over 6 times longer than this. And generally their models are about the same size that I've seen. Maybe slightly bigger, maybe not, but whatever. But they're in that range. Whoop, we are off. So I have a general time frame I like doing on these, and I feel comfortable with that. After, I'd say, if I were to go any further than this, I might start losing interest as time goes on. So for me, this is like the perfect time for this whole thing. And oh baby, this thing is hot. But it fits. And there we go. We have Bangin' the Boys. That sounded very bad. But this has been really kind of the main, this has been the building portion of the Bang Shishigami project. Let's get you a little closer in. Now, this has been the building portion of the Bang Shishigami project. Like I said, tomorrow, don't expect anything on this. Tomorrow is very likely going to be a recap of how the race went. So be prepared for that. If you're interested in, like, say, the fitness side of things I do, that should be good. If you're in this and just want to watch this for the model stuff, then probably come back Monday. I'm going to do the priming phase. It's probably going to be a relatively quick session. It's going to be probably sanding down any kind of rough areas real quick and just putting a coat of primer on all the stuff. So it should be relatively quick. And then after that, we'll start building up on the painting side. And as I said, the plan on at least this first model that I'm doing on camera is to show everything. So we're going to go through the whole painting process. After this one is done, if I want to change things up, I might not show all of the painting stuff. I might hold back on certain other things. We're going to learn from this one, and we're just going to go from that. But for the time being, just imagine that, yeah, we're going to show everything going forward. So we probably have another 10-ish hours left on him until he's officially complete, done, and good. But until then, this has been the building phase of the Bang Shishigami project, and it is complete. So, until next time, enjoy.